Right, this is Sky Power Radio and TV services from studios West Yorkshire, Leeds and Zilmount. Good afternoon, good day to you wherever you are on this planet Earth. Right, today, as you see in flag up, we got colleagues, a member from the Gambia High Commissioner in the UK, Honorable Councillor Mr. Suntu Ture. Alaji Suntu Ture will be here with us today to take us through the modalities and all that happening at the Gambia High Commission in the UK, London. Right, Suntu is here with us in studios. We can say a warm welcome to Alaji Suntu Ture, the Chancellor Councillor at the Gambia High Commission in London here. Good afternoon, good day to you, Mr. Ture.
Good day to you, Mustafa, and your Sky Power crew, radio and television. I greet all of you, from the High Commission. Although, of course, due to the current, lockdown, we am out of the office at the moment, but then yet still available to talk to you and your viewers.
This is really uploadable. This is well appreciated because out of hours or out of time, this is what we expect of people in the public domain or public space. First of all, Mr. Ture, if I may ask you, what is your position at the High Commission, Mr. Ture?
My humble position, Mustafa, is the consular, so the person in charge of everything under the consular affairs. So the consular affairs is a wide-ranging area, it's a wide-ranging section, and within the embassy, most of the workload is between the deputy and the consular, because this is where most of the interaction and the main duties fall under. So this can include many things, and in powerful countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, and Kenya, other African countries, they will have up to maybe 50, up to 60 consulars. I think Nigeria, if I am not mistaken, they may have up to 100 plus consulars, because you can have a consular for trade affairs, consular for immigration affairs, consular for security affairs, consular for energy, whatever, roles that you believe your country require for your diplomats to sort of work, to facilitate those things for the home country. So therefore, the consular services for us as Gambia is just one, and you can imagine the tediousness and the cumbersome, the workload under the consular affairs is a lot. So sometimes you have to sort of share some of the works with some of your colleagues who might be less busy. So the consular affairs it entails a lot, from looking at visa issues, looking at bilateral relations, for example. Sometimes we attend meetings for the IMO, which is the maritime organization for the Gambia, like the ships and boats. So we attend their meetings, communicate with the ports, people at ports, and the Ministry of Transport. Also, you could have the consular affairs under marriage. There are a lot of Gambians who are marrying in Europe, and because we look after about 7 to 8 other countries, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Israel, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and the UK, it's England itself, and the Holy See, which is the Vatican's. Because you see, the Vatican is separate from the rest of the Italy. So we look after the Vatican as well. So any correspondence which is to do with trade affairs, with energy, with other particular diplomacy will fall under the consular and then the DHM, which is the deputy. So whilst the High Commissioner will delegate, he looks after all the information and then he assigns roles. But most things for the consular are tailored. For example, if you want to get married to a British lady here, you get married in the Gambia, the UK will not accept your marriage document except if the consular write a letter to indicate that the papers that you presented are authentic, they are correct, and they are not false. So that requires my stamp and my signature. So I'm doing that for a lot of people across Europe, nearly on daily basis, even on the weekends. Some of the boys are calling you. Nkotoma mako dukare na chepe janawe kanalama dukare mako. So sometimes you wonder, how did you get my number? This is a weekend. I'm with my family. They say dukare akale mako. So you will see that the consular don't have a day off. That's why most other powerful countries, the reason I use powerful, it means they can afford many consulars. Some, in fact, they will have, within the UK itself, they will have honorary consulate within different cities. Right. Okay, they will have one in Wales, let's say Bristol, or wherever you have a concentration of Gambians, you should have a honorary, so that he can look after their affairs and their day-to-day activities. Yeah, that's just in brief.
Yeah, but it sounds like you're doing a very tedious job. How comes you alone running this? Why is that?
No, because if that is my designation, the UK Diplomatic Corps recognize me as the person who is doing that job. Okay, so if I sometimes, as I said, when the workload is high, because sometimes you may have so much work you don't even know which one to start. So this is where the High Commissioner will come in and will say, okay, I want somebody else to assist you in this, somebody else to assist you in this and that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, myself, I could say, okay, I have a bit more task, so I need a hand, and then some of your colleagues will come in. So this is why I said for Gambia we can only afford one consular, but for Nigeria, Ghana, and others, they have 50 plus because they can afford it. Because of the nature of our economy and stuff, it's like consulars and the deputy high commissioners, they are really overworked for Gambians, really. Not that I am one of them, but even if somebody else is there, but I know the range of work that you do, and then, but it's a teamwork. We do share and then we do help out and chip in and make sure the tasks are fulfilled within a fast period of time.
Yeah, but is that a cause to some of these things that are causing delay and dragging things? Is that a cause to that? Would you say that is the cause to that, Mr. Toure?
No, not really. I think I would say since I took over, even well before I took over, my colleague who was there, most of the time we look at things how urgent they are. In every workplace you have to look at the urgency.
Well, you prioritize,
and then you prioritize and you do. So for us, once something comes, we have to look at it to say the scale of how urgent is this? Because there are some people, you might have a task now and somebody will call you, say, for example, a classic example is a famous Gambian who was about to travel. And unfortunately, the person was stopped. And whatever task I was doing, I had to stop to intervene in the person's matter. And we were able to resolve that very quickly. Okay, so that means that you might be doing something and something more urgent comes in. So then you have to sort of exercise that reasonability, to sort of resolve that. But because we work as a team, whatever is urgent on my whatever workload I have, I can share with my colleagues. Okay, but there are certain things where your signature as the consular has to be there because that's your designation. Somebody could do the job and then for you, You know, just like in most letters you see from government department, they will say for. You know, you understand? That is means sharing of work and the task.
Yes, but how many countries do you cover?
We cover Finland.
Yeah, Finland.
Norway.
Yeah.
Denmark.
Yeah.
Sweden.
Yeah.
And then Wales, Scotland.
Yeah.
You know, Ireland.
Okay.
Israel.
Israel. Okay.
Yeah. But in some of those countries, just to help further, in some of those countries, we do have honorary counselors, like counselors that are acting for us. But there are certain tasks, there are certain things that they have to refer to us.
Right. Mr. Ture, please help us out here. What are honorary counselors? Why are they there? And why are you here? What do they do? And who paid them? Why are they there?
Now, honorary counselors are not paid by the Gambia government.
Okay.
Honorary counselors, you know, it's like every country have honorary counselors. Honorary counselors, these are people who are private businessmen most of the time. Most of the time lawyers who can act for you, because if you cannot open embassies in all these countries. It's very expensive to run an embassy. So therefore, you have to look at the most cost-effective way, the most efficient way to be able to, you know, utilize, you know, your interest in other people in another country. But because you cannot have an embassy there, then you have to use the service of somebody who is an outstanding business person with impeccable track record, no criminal records and stuff like that. They have to be vetted by the home country itself. For example, we have a honorary consular in Denmark, and then it's like the Danish government will say, okay, this person has a clean slate, blah blah blah, and then you yourself do your own due diligence, and then he will act for you on certain low-level roles and mundane, everyday, you know, issues. So, but whatever is a high level, then it is referred to the High Commissioner, who is the head of the mission.
Suntu, if I may ask you, who is the High Commissioner?
The High Commissioner is His Excellency Mr. Francis R. Blaine. He's a seasoned diplomat. He used to be representing Gambia at the UN, at the ECOWAS, you know, and then he was actually here in UK in my current position as a consular in the 80s. He went back to Gambia and then was deployed to the United Nations. And then, you know, from there, I think somebody's calling me.
Yeah, it looks like you're getting some incoming calls. That's why your screen is shaking, you know.
Okay, can I, if I want to stop it, do I need to?
Yes, you can reject it if you wish.
It's not showing on my screen, but let's carry on. If it is not disturbing your broadcast.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, I want to know about this Mr. Blake, because my problem here is this Mr. Blake. I've not seen him, you know, getting involved in a lot of Gambian activities. You know, I don't know why. I don't even know him. You know.
No. Mr. Blaine gets involved in Gambian activities. In fact, he was in Leeds in this past Gambian independence celebration. You know, he is a very active person. He very engaging, and he's a very open, you know, person. You know, so he, I would say, is somebody whose footsteps we're following, because he is a consummate diplomat, if you know what I mean. Because he's been doing the diplomatic role since, I would say, the late early 80s. You know, and then he's represented Gambia, as I said, at the UN, and then at the ECOWAS, and then, you know, and then other diplomatic roles as well. So he interacts with a lot of the communities, because he attended events in Birmingham, in London, you know, Leeds, many places. In fact, he does travel even all the way to Italy, because I went with him to Denmark, you know, so and then to Sweden, to Finland. He's been to all these places, Mustafa.
Yes, you know, Suntu, coming to the you know, the countries that you look after, and then do you have records of people or Gambians living in those countries? Have you got records of Gambians living in these countries, that the countries that you look after?
Mustafa, I think this is the most important element of the work that is absolutely difficult for most Gambian embassies across the world.
Mm.
And I'm sure we start from yourself. You yourself, you are not registered with your Gambian embassy or the Gambian High Commission. Okay, the issue at hand is, I think we are trying to find out the psychology, the reasons why Gambians don't register with their embassies. This is since the Jawara days up to now. It's not like a new phenomenon. Um, Even myself, when I came here newly to the UK, I think the only time I needed my embassy was when I wanted to renew my passport. You know, so and then I went there, and the lady asked me. The then ambassador said to me, "Are you registered with us?" I said, "No." He said, "Do you know you should?" I said, "Why?" And she told me, "Can you look at your passport? Look at the last page of your Gambian passport." So I opened my passport, look at the last page, and I saw it clearly there. I said, "Well, when once we are coming to Europe, the last thing you think about is your embassy. you just come, and then you just want to just disappear into the system." So I think this is the feeling most people have. They don't see the need, neither find it relevant to register with their embassies. Sadly, okay. How do we change that? I think that is the job lies with us now, to interact and to sensitize. We've been doing that in a subtle way, to interact with Gambian community leaders. In fact, we have a WhatsApp group called the Gambia Interfaith. Within the Gambian Interfaith, we are fishing out Gambian community leaders, people who are chairman of associations, secretaries, PROs, imams, priests. We are having them there because we are trying to create the concept of a Gambia where we can resolve issues without, resorting to going to our home country authorities. For example, marital issues between spouses. Before you go to the police or to the social service, why can't we have Gambians, independent, very confidential, who can intervene in issues like this?
Right.
So,
Suntu, did you
uh,
find a way? Did you find a way to approach people or to bring them to make them understand that you are there for them? You are there for the Gambians. You are there to serve them. Did you try to find a way to do that?
yeah, we do find a way to do that. As I said, we organize community events. I think the problem might be because most of them don't get media exposures. But we do organize community event. Even last December 2019, myself, I was in Birmingham with the deputy, Mr. Alim Jai, where we were part of with some international organizations and some Gambian, a Gambian group called the Africa Center. So we brought together Gambians in London. We visited the mosque, and there we discussed the need for Gambians to register with the embassy, and we also, participated in a survey that was going on to see what are the skill sets of Gambians in the diaspora. Because, for example, now there are some contracts or there are some projects that the World Bank, the IMF, or the US State Department, or the British government, or what you call DFID, the British International Aid, or others, they will want to sponsor a project in the Gambia, but they will say, look, this is our criteria. We want this particular person. In the whole Gambia, you might not find that person, but there could be a Gambian diaspora living in Leeds, or living in Bristol, living in Manchester, or living in Norway, who is a Gambian. He fulfills this criteria. If we have the details of that person, we could straight away write to the British authorities or to whoever and say, you know what, we don't have this particular person in the Gambia, but we have this person in New York, or we have this person in London. Can you consider this person? And they would be more willing to go for a Gambian than a European person to go and run that project. If you look at some of the EU projects in Gambia now, you will see European nationals being the head of this and that. The reason for that is they are looking for a specification. If they cannot have that in the Gambia, they will themselves allocate that person. So this is why it is very, very
We are
important.
losing. If you look at it, I think we are losing a lot because of that. That message is not getting across, as the way it's supposed to be. But in a broader
Yeah.
perspective, if I may ask, are you not accessible? Because when it comes to that aspect of it, accessibility is very important. Like, how can I get to my embassy? Like the message is out there for people to contact, where to contact, how to contact, and then like going around sensitizing people in this country. Because without the people, your job will be. Can you do your work?
Absolutely, you are very right about that, and this is why, as I said, we do organize community outreach on engagement, and we also rely on the communities to organize their events and invite us in there. So myself, as I said, this February I was in Coventry for their independence, where I gave a sort of brief keynote speech, and then we interacted. My colleague Ali went to Slough, and then from there he came to Birmingham for they have a group there called Grab. He attended their event, and there we sensitized. So we've been doing that sensitization, but there is, I think we have both, all of us as Gambians have to understand the mindset that patriotism on our part usually it's hinged on a particular political opinion, and this is where we now have to detach ourselves and understand that our country is above, over and above every single entity in that country. So loving our country and being part and parcel of our country's governance or our country's systems should not have any political underlining. So I think this is the major issue since the PPP days. Because most of the early, if you look at the history, most of the early Gambians that migrated in those days were people that belongs to a group called Moja. A,
Yeah,
a,
yeah, I know.
a particular large group of Mojas went and they were against PPP. So in those days, once you are against, you don't want to be associated. So others start coming, and then that this association continues. So right now we are changing the trend because since we took over in 2017, I would say we have attended so many events that sometimes it's like we are overlooked because we are only 7 diplomats. You have to understand we have one of the smallest diplomatic team within most African countries because of the affordability. Our country's budget is tight. So because of that, you have to limit the diplomatic staff. So we can only go to so much event. This is why we are trying our best to create community ambassadors. Rather than soon to go to some Wales, if I don't have time, we could say, Mustafa, you are a community champion. Okay, represent us there, and then will be seen as a Gambian who is acting on behalf of the embassy at an event where the embassy cannot attend. So this way, we better utilize experts and skilled patriots within our community to sort of forge ahead to a better Gambia.
Yeah, but what doubts me here is you said you got a small number of thingy. Could you help me clarify it with some of these doubts? Like, what sort of, you said you organize this community outreach. Since when has this been going on?
We've been part of community outreach since let's say 2018, because within 2017, you have to remember, we were doing what we call reconnecting with with countries that diplomatically have cut off ties with us.
Right.
So there was a lot of there were so many countries that cut off diplomatic ties with the Gambia, or some it went down to a lower scale. So
Oh,
our
so this
job,
is a new thing coming up just now. It just came up now. So when you came into office, you were trying to reconnect,
we are
as you
trying to
put it.
reconnect, build bilateral relationship, because Yajame exited Gambia out of many, many, many diplomatic organizations. And then most countries, he didn't have anything to do with them. So it's like, all that was going within the first year is to reconnect. And that was not an easy process. There are paperwork, you have to attend meetings, running around. Sometimes you attend meeting up to 8 o'clock in the night, in the evening. So it's like, that was going on. But from 2018, then we started refocusing our attention on attending Gambian events where we interact and we share ideas. And then, we discuss about, and then, of course, right now, we have a good rapport with a lot of organizations as far as Scotland and many other places. And there are a lot of young people also within the European hemisphere who are always in touch with us. They call us for advice. We advise them on many issues. In fact, most of them that seek our advice, regularize themselves where they are quite smoothly, because most of the time people are in difficulties because of lack of proper advice. You go to Facebook, you hear some misleading information, you follow that. Or you call your friend, he gives you misleading information, you follow that. Or you listen to a WhatsApp audio, some misleading information, you follow that. So we know exactly, what are some of the problems, what are some of the bilateral and diplomatic issues, and then we can advise you as a Gambian what we think you should do. So we are doing that. So our rapport with the community currently is going on a higher level. But as I said, because of the lower budget scale, we cannot, of course, attend too many events. So we have to now strategize.
If I may ask, where does your budget come from? Ministry of External or Finance?
Foreign Affairs.
Foreign Affairs.
Yes.
So that means, are you saying that how your budget is not usually not enough? Yeah, is that correct?
You are now speaking to a diplomat. What I'm saying that no budget is ever enough.
Okay.
But you have to utilize what you have to the best of your abilities to make sure maximum utilization, takes place, which we do. Of course, we want to do more, and for that we have to justify that. And of course, nowadays with the sort of stringent financial controls in place, different from the last regime. Not, I'm not trying to say people don't have their opinions, but right now you have the National Assembly Select Committee. They can scrutinize even the last penny, every single thing. So whatever people are doing, has to be justified. You cannot just say, I want to go to Leeds for so. Why? You have to justify that. And that's our job. So we are trying to justify the need for us to have a stronger community outreach, the need for us to work with partners to have community ambassadors, Gambian community ambassadors within their own communities, where these community leaders can act for us, okay, and they can interact for us and help us sensitize. And even people like you in the media, we can have that good rapport with people like you.
Yes,
nothing political.
Which is very good, because that's what I'm coming to. Because I did mention here earlier the accessibility, because that's accessibility is very important here. Is your office accessible to Gambians in the diaspora? Is it accessible to the people that you represent, people, the countries within your jurisdiction? Is it accessible to them? This is my question.
Of course, we are very accessible to them. Myself, my number is in over 300 WhatsApp group. My number, personally. Okay. So people call me anytime about any issue. Sometimes I will leave the office to go to people's houses. We have Gambians here who are 75 plus, 60, close to 80 years. They need the consular service. They cannot come to the office. I will go to their houses, resolve their issues, and come back to the office. So we do that. There are some of the older generation that knows the ambassador. They will call him and request a consular service, and then we will go to them and interact. And the deputy high commissioner has been around for a while, and he has contacts of many Gambian groups and many Gambians. So we are very accessible. In terms of accessibility, we are very accessible. So what we want to do more of is for us to be visiting towns and cities. Okay, that is what we want to do more of. Yes.
Yeah, because if you look at it, the email provided, we don't even know the email for the counselor. We don't even go, with this social media or social thing happening. I think you should utilize that to your advantage, and then that makes it easier for you. Have you got a website?
Yes, we have a website. We have a website, that is out there, and we also have what we call we have links of different forms and different things that people utilize. But as I said, most of the time it is non-Gambians actually that are utilizing
Oh, I think it's got an incoming.
Our services in terms of from the website perspective. Yeah, I've that's incoming. Sorry about that. Yeah. So it's like, there are people are locating our office. People are applying for visa through by downloading forms and printing our website, printing how to call it this thing, emergency pass to the website, and they're coming to us. Maybe, as you said, we need to do more media interaction to be very visible. But as diplomats as they are, usually are media shy. You have to understand that. That is the training of the conventional diplomats. They only talk very rarely, because the lesser a diplomat talk, the better a diplomat he is, he or she is.
Yeah, but
Because let me help you with one thing here. Let me help you with one thing.
Yeah.
Most of the fonts that you see,
what makes you a diplomat is the people, isn't it? So you need to be talking to the people.
Yes, you need to be talking to the people, but you have to understand that also people that we deal with wants our 100% confidentiality. Okay, so you are right. We need to sensitize people about what we do, but we also have to demonstrate to those people that, look, we are 100% confidential. Whatever we're dealing with you remains between you and us as the oath of office we took. So people also want to see a particular portray. You have to portray yourself in a particular light. So as a diplomat, you can't be arguing with everybody, or you can't just be entering into every little feuds over there. And also, you also have to exhibit yourself in such a way that the people can trust, dealing with you. So it's a fine line, really, Mustafa. It's a very fine line.
So would you say the people, are they cooperative? The people from these various countries, are they cooperative, like dealing with them?
Yes. People are really, of course, people are on the different stress level. Excuse me. As you know, even during this coronavirus thing, there are Gambians who are settled, and they are, settled in the UK or in other countries that we look after. And most of these Gambians, they, will get some state help, whether they're working or not. But we also have a considerable number of Gambians who are not settled. From here to Italy, to Norway, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, Ireland, Scotland, they're not settled. Most of those people at this current moment in time, they are struggling, seriously struggling. Okay. Whilst people who are settled are not aware, most people are not aware as the plight of a considerable number of Gambians who are not settled, who are not having any means, any help from the state, anywhere except family or friends. So you need to now balance. How do you interact with these both communities? Okay, so all of that, Mustafa, so that goes into our thinking and our work.
I think a lot of it is got to do with mindset and your communication and your accessibility. It's really important here, Mr. Toure. The mindset of the people, the Gambians, their mindset. So I think you should try and find a way to break that barrier, to try and make sure that you let them understand that you are there for them. So without you, without them, you lot will not be there. So I think that is a very key point here, because some of them, in this country or those countries, European countries, there's this paperwork problem that people want to keep that confidential and so. But I think reaching out to them to make them understand that should be a key. I don't know what's your stand on that.
Yes, no, as I said to you, we are doing that. We are regularly interacting with them, and we are regularly sort of resolving issues that they face. And as I said, even during this tough coronavirus period, there are people that are calling you to say, look, I really want you guys to help me with this. Even though most places are locked, most advice to diplomats and others to stay home and work remotely, which we do, but we also go to the office nearly every 3-4 days. You understand? So all of that is to satisfy the needs of our community. So we are actually doing that. In actual fact, we've been getting a lot of positive feedback from lots of people. Either personally, they email you, or they email our office, or they call, or they text to thank us for, the new face, like the new approach that we have adopted, in dealing with them, and then in trying to resolve their issues. We might not have in the past attended so many, as I said, community events, but that is due to other issues that we are trying to do our best to resolve and to make sure we are able to attend and participate in as many community activities as possible.
What, as a councillor or as a High Commission, what have you got at your disposal, the High Commission?
Currently, as you know, we are engaging on the sort of registration of Gambian students who are here in the UK, and also in countries that are under us, that are sponsored by government, and those who are not sponsored by government. But if they are classified as international students from the authorities, we are engaging them. And as I speak to you, my colleague is in the office. Each of their people are filling the forms, and we are processing those forms and then sending those forms back to Banjul. So we are urging every single Gambian who is a student, international student, to sort of get in touch with us. Then we will submit you the form for you to fill and providing your ID. So this way we can process the relief, because we know most of the universities are closed.
Yeah, it seems to get
a little bit,
in
they need to provide some relief.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that we are currently engaging in a registration of Gambian international students. And Gambian international students are in two folds. There are some that are sponsored by government. They come from departments such as road authority, petroleum, food safety, the army, the military, uh, different energy, finance, different departments. We have students in different universities in the UK here, and also some in Sweden. Most of the armed personnel for regimentation and others are trained in Sweden. But there are also some senior officers that are in the British military academy here. So we are engaging most of those people, but also non-government sponsored students who are classified as international students. So we are engaging those ones as well to apply for this relief package. And we don't have any money in our embassy, because I've seen I've seen somebody writing on Facebook saying,
okay,
go on.
The monetary side, where is the 21.9 million allocated? Do you know about that? Have you got your fair share of that 29.1 million?
Yeah, the 29 million is allocated by the Minister of Finance.
Okay.
So excuse me, under the directive of the president and then the cabinet. So the money is there. Currently, no money leaves the central government without the appropriate channel or procedures being fulfilled. Because we have the internal auditors, we have the external auditors, we have the National Assembly Select Committee to go through most of these things. So that money, people have to apply. Those forms have to leave the embassies here with your copy of your passport, your university details, where you're studying, blah, blah, blah. And that goes to them. And then a team goes through that to verify each of those applications. And then they will arrive at the allocation of particular help package to individual students. So that once that is done, vouchers are raised, and then they get their assistance. So we don't have any money sitting here every money that is to come will come with a purpose to say it is gonna be for this. Yeah.
So, so in case a Gambian have a problem and then approach you about this COVID-19, how would you support that person then?
If this particular person don't fall under the category of a student, okay, I mean, unfortunately, we just have to take your details, and then try to write down the nature of your problem, and then send this correspondence to our principals to assess and look at. Because currently we have quite a considerable number of Gambians who are in a difficult situation. But as you know, you yourself being a journalist and in the media, Gambians are shouting about food for the Sanyang Kundangas and the Kamara Kundangas in Gambia. So imagine the government said that we're going to be helping Gambians in the UK who are just, ordinary people. I mean, it could be another issue.
Yeah, but I thought there is a budget allocated for that. Is there any budget for that?
Yes, of course, there is some help, for Gambians in distress. There is some help for that. But you are relating a phenomenon where, everybody is an emergency response. It's not part of the normal, what you will call a distress situation. So therefore, you have to process that information as per the COVID-19 criteria, and then you get clearance, from the principal. Whatever we do, we have to get clearance. You cannot just say, okay, well, I see somebody is suffering, is tired, so we have to do this. No, you have to process the information, go according to the due process.
How do you handle emergency situations with Gambians when it comes to Gambians in your jurisdiction?
Sorry?
How do you handle emergency situations when it comes to Gambians within your jurisdiction?
Well, most of the time, we have to. Most of the time, the best procedure we go is to invite you in and to try to discuss. If not, then we can do most of the discussion on the phone and assess your situation and see what are the best channels for us to be of service. And then it goes there. No individual case is the same. There are people calling because of domestic issues. They're having issues with their spouses. There are people calling because they've been evicted. There are people calling because they are sick. There are people in insanity. So then, there are different categories of problems. So, and each of those problems, we have to deal with it, differently, particularly, to make sure, the person get the satisfaction, whether we are able to give you any monetary assistance or not, but we will do our level best to be there for you.
Right. We will be very grateful if you can, this world we are living in, this easy access information world now at the minute, like the social media is out there. The Gambia High Commission, have you got a Facebook webpage, which is a lot easy to access? Have you?
Yeah, we got a Facebook page. That is the Gambia High Commission. If you check the Gambia High Commission, you see our Facebook page there.
What are your numbers that people can access you? Have you got numbers that, because some people do say that when you call Gambian embassy, they will tell you, oh, you need to come here, or we can't do this, or you need to, that many complaints. I don't know. Have you got numbers?
Yeah, you are talking about the past. That is in the past. Most of the time now, we are not having such complaints now. Yes, in the past, I mean, there used to be accessibility problems because we all understand what was going on in the past. But we are very open. Most people know me before I became a diplomat, so they still deal with me as they know me, not as a Gambian diplomat. Okay, and the deputy out there as well. Most of us are very, very accessible. So the numbers as well. I think because there were a relocation, we did relocate it. We were in a temporal building in Ledbury Road, and then we moved to the main chancery, which is 57 Kensington Court, which is where you have most of the embassies based. But because that was under renovation, so we were in a temporary office. So I think that did cause some problem about 6-7 months ago. When we moved, some people were still going to the old address. So that did raise some issues, which we acknowledged. But we did our best to inform people, to leave posters there, and to do different engagements. And also on our Facebook page at that particular period, we used to put our new address and new contact details there.
What are you doing differently to uplift the High Commission at the minute?
As I said, to be professional in whatever we do, because sometimes people will call us with a very serious anger, and then we have to now deal with them, talk to them. Before we finish, we become friends. As I can tell you that the High Commissioner, before, yeah, I think somebody was trying to enter. So most of the time, High Commissioners, before you get them, you have to go through their PAs, their secretaries. Mm-hmm. But our High Commissioner will readily give his number to just anybody. He goes to events and he will give his cards out. Call me. Whatever is the issue, just call me as your uncle or as your representatives. So, and the same applies to me. As I said, my number is not hidden; it's everywhere. In fact, I wanted to change my number some time ago because sometimes I get called at 2 a.m. in the night. So I said, you know what? Let me just do with this number now. But then you think about the average person who might need just one advice, just 2 minutes advice, and they struggle to get your number. I maintain the number. I will accept the inconvenience, but I would rather be there for Gambians. Because to be a civil servant, I think this is an issue which I see Gambians debate a lot. You don't go into civil service for money. You go to civil service because you want to sacrifice your time, your energy, the little knowledge you have for your country. There's no money in the civil service in the right course of things. So Gambians should aspire to work for their country with the sole purpose of uplifting the development, uplifting the standard of the country. Not aspiring to be a civil servant because people will say you are X, Y, Z. That's irrelevant. What is relevant is what contribution could you do to take the country from point A to point B. If you are part of that process, however little that is, this is where you should get pride. You shouldn't get pride from anything else but your complete contribution towards taking the country forward, whatever role you play. And we should have very talented people trying to join the civil service. They should be aiming to join the civil service from Europe, from everywhere. This way, we cannot just sit out there and be blaming those inside. Remember, most of the people working in the civil service studied in universities in London, Manchester, Leeds, Bristol, Copenhagen, New York, wherever. They were like you and I. So, and these are our brothers and sisters in the system. So you see, so the aspiration should be, once you are in the system, try to do your level best to contribute to take the country forward. Don't start to be blaming anybody else, but try to see, what can I do? What is my contribution? What am I doing? That should be your issue. That should be your question, Mustafa.
Right. Mr. Toure, what are some of the difficulties that you encounter, in your job?
Well, I don't want to talk about the difficulties because there are people who are in very serious, difficult situations. I think I will borrow a word from the former Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn. He says, once they asked him, they said to him, Corbyn, you are being vilified. People attack you, you insult you. They make you anti-Semitic. They make you things you are not. So you are under stress. You are under pressure. He said, me under pressure? He said, no. He said, this is not pressure. The pressure is people who struggle. They're thinking about their next meal. They're thinking about their rent. They're thinking about, their health. They're thinking about things of serious impact to their human existence. That is pressure. Okay, they kind of some of the hurdles that we have to face is, as you said, the perception, community perception, which we are working hard at. Because sometimes people, they will call with a preconceived perception, and you takes time. Sometimes it take 5-10 minutes trying to clear that perception, before they can understand. Look, this is my brother sitting out there. My wife is from Gunjur, so somebody may call from Gunjur, not knowing I'm their in-law, and be attack you for 5 minutes, and then calm down, and then you deal with the person, and then after the discussion knows that, oh, negative, this is my in-law. So,
Well,
but we go through that. Sometimes sometimes our secretary, people will call the secretary, and she pick the phone. Within that tense period, some people will hold some abuses at her. I'm sure she will not want me to dive, but people will call, and they will say some very harsh words, and then she will remain calm, address them, because people handle pressure differently. There are some people, once they are under pressure, they will transfer it. They find it difficult to deal with. So it's not your problem. It's not nothing to do with you, but they will either offload it on you. Then they get calmed down. So we do encounter those things.
they call it.
So those
Yeah,
are some of the things. And
yeah.
sometimes the long hours. But those are things that is for your country. For me, anything I do for my country, I'm happy. If I am
Right.
doing it for my country, I'm happy.
Yeah, Mr. Toure, those things, they might come your way, very often and frequently, but how do you, like, how do you resolve
Mhm.
some of those things? How do you resolve them? Because if that is happening, then there's a break somewhere, or there's a misunderstanding somewhere, or there's something that is lacking. That is why that is there. So how do you resolve that?
Um, Personally, I am a bit lucky, and I think the deputy high commissioner, the high commissioner, because they've been in the civil service for years. Because I worked here in the UK local authorities for about close to 8 years, and there, during my first 2 years, I worked in a department where you deal with applications for, let me put it this, social support
Mm.
for people that want to go to care homes, for students, for disabled students and their families. So you have to understand the mindset. The average white person don't like distress. So once they call you, you answer the phone. They don't expect to find a Gambian person with a Gambian accent sitting out there. So Mustafa, you can imagine some of the insult they were. What kind of, I cannot repeat some of those. They will abuse you for 10 minutes. What are you doing there? Why do you answer that phone? Is this the wrong number? And then, so you have to calm down. So for the first 2 years, it's like every day, say, tomorrow I will pack up, I'll leave. But then you tend to adjust to that human frustration to understand, really, uh, it's not anything that you've done. That is something they're going through. So for me, before I joined the Gambian thing, I went through all of that cycle. So of course, that's why it's not easy to irritate me, not easy at all. So you have to calm down, compose, and listen. And after some time, you will find out that, look, this person is under a serious distress. As I said, due to the nature of our work, I can give you many examples, but I don't want those people to listen now or later, hearing, a narration where they might future. But there are different Gambians that we deal with. And sadly, there are a considerable number of our folks now that have been, pushed, whether they're pushed or whatever, but they're having some mental breakdowns. We are encountering that. So this is why for us now is to work with communities so that we don't forget each other, Brother Mustafa. We need to look out for one another in our communities. Don't think that every government in Leeds is doing okay. There are some that require your counseling, your kind words, that nice approach. There are many that need it. People bottle things up, and before they realize, it pushes them over the edge. You know, there are some
But
governments, they will not take their
Mr.
psychiatric
Toure,
medicine without speaking to the High Commission.
honestly, this,
Mhm,
I think this should be on top of your
mhm.
list. Should be the number one priority to reach out to the people that you are there for. That should be a key. I don't think that should drag up to now. What are your thoughts on that? Because it seems it's a bit dragging. the accessibility and reaching out to people, it should be really important. It's paramount key here because you are there for people. So it would be nice for the High Commission to consider people's affairs first, and then make it accessible. Even if you can't go there, you go and have a kind of a workshop or seminar or a community outreach, if you may call it, to people of Leeds and says, listen, Yankuba Saho or Bamfa, this is what I want, we want in Leeds or somewhere. And these are some of the access also, that sort of sensitization, civic education, letting them know that you are there for them. I think that should be on top of the list, because looking at it now, a lot of people have that grudge or grievance because the communication is not there, Mr. Ture. Am I right?
Yes, well, you are right. So at some parts, I mean, because we need to do more. And as people who are representative of our country, we should always respond to the public criticism or the public suggestions. So, of course, we will be doing that. But as I said, we are working on finding a proper model that can work. Either the community can find a venue and then we interact with them, or we can do it jointly. Because remember, these things cost money. The venue has to be paid. Sometimes the snacks have to be paid. Will my in-laws in Gunjur in Leeds be willing to pay for the hall and then the snacks? And then we come, we socialize, So it has to be that model. This is why, as I said, currently we are working on building trust and confidence between us and most of these community leaders, so that they can understand our constraints and they can understand that, okay, where can we partner? How do we partner? So this is why the last event we did, we only did it for Birmingham and London because of the short nature of the time frame. We wanted to get data, a sample data, as to what are the competencies of Gambian professionals within these two cities or within the overall UK. And I think Mbemba Jabi, traveled to Leeds, or if I'm not forgotten, but to Manchester and other cities to collect samples. So this is going to be an ongoing process. Some of us will do it, leave it, somebody else will take over and carry on. But we now have to be trying to create that template, that format, to say Gambians is not easy to convince us towards a direction. It's very tough. And people like you in the media, I think we have to rely on you to build confidence between ourselves, not just between us and the embassy, but within ourselves. We have a lot of trust issues because going through social media, and so you see Gambians, they are happy not to have any contact with another Gambian. Do you normally see that, Mustafa?
No, I'm from a village, me.
No. What I'm saying is, you will see Gambians who say that I live in an area that there is no Gambian.
Oh, yeah,
in Europe, I mean, people write.
Some people brag about that,
and that is lack of trust.
Yes. But that trust, how can you build that back up? This is the main thing we're looking here. How can we build that trust back?
Yeah, we will be using people like you, to provide a vehicle. Because as you know,
if you are accessible, there's no problem. We could easily do that. Sensitize people, use the platform or any other platform to sensitize people that you are there for the people. I need to ask you this. Is there any budget or money that is there waiting, or that is there for specifically to help Gambians in the diaspora? Is there any budget for that?
Really, when you mean there's a budget, because the services, the services that we provide, are for Gambians in diaspora. Of course, that fall under a general budget. Okay. So I don't know what you mean by is there any budget? You mean
like, support, like if a Gambian has difficulty that he cannot do certain things because the High Commission should be there for its own people. Like not like if you want to buy electric, not that like a budget to say to keep you as a human being, that human right. Is there any budget?
That's welfare. That falls under welfare. That falls under welfare support. Yes, we do have some budget about welfare support.
Okay. So there is a welfare support in the Gambia High Commission that is waiting for Gambians in the diaspora, yeah?
Yes, some who are in distress. who may be categorized or classified as in serious distress. Yes, we do that. Not long ago, we do participate. That we visit people in psychiatric homes, and then we provide them some support morally, a bit of financial, and then that contact support. We do all of that. Yes.
So there is a welfare budget for Gambians in the diaspora. We all know that now. So we'll be happy to contact you to get our share of that welfare.
You have to understand, we are from a very, very poor country, and most of our budgets are very small, very streamlined. So we don't have any oil or stuff. But let's pray that we are able to secure oil and petrol. Then, our revenue level will be high, and then we will be able to intervene in a serious way. But right now, this is just for small alleviation of people's difficulties.
People from Sukuta, if we want to bring them on board, my good friend Sukutarian Salif Omane, he might be watching or listening to the radio. If you want to have them on board, you need to tell them this is what is available, this is what is there for you. So that welfare budget is there. So we'll tell the whole world that there is a welfare budget in Gambia High Commission, and that would encourage Salif and others to come and join the Gambia High Commission, come and register and all that. I think you need to find some way, a different approach now, how to get or have people on board. I don't know. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. And I think one thing I will also encourage is for people to be patriotic in a particular way, because our embassy is close to the Iranian embassy and some of these South American embassies. You see, those people, they are nationals. They come there very frequently, just for simple stuff, small stuff, because I think I am trying to figure that out. I'm writing something about the concept of the Gambian diasporans. How do we see ourselves? But if you look at it, compare us to the Iranian, where people are saying they're oppressive, repressive, and all whatnot. If you go in the morning to the Iranian embassy, you see a queue every day, long queues. So we don't have that as Gambians, Mustafa. Sometimes we have to acknowledge some of our personal.
I think he's got an incoming call again, Honorable. He's got an incoming call again. Yeah, we will stay here because we want some form of clarification. Whoever is calling him, tell the person to let you. We got some comments there. We might go through some comments and then see what the general people are saying. But just to let you all know that Suntu will remain here. I think he's got an incoming call. He's a busy man on the phone, so he will be here to take us through about this welfare budget. There is a welfare budget at the Gambian High Commission in UK here, so you all can try and get your share out of that welfare budget. I'll try and get hold of Suntu again once again, and then come back in a second. Stay there, don't go nowhere.
Moro bande segudambe sampatula baludab family balu Alamadia kanone ndenyabo dunia terudiada katika donila terudiada nadabadia Alaka bobe marbu dinamai, sabini kabobe marbu dinamai.
The Chancellor, the UK, the Gambia High Commission in London here with us here in studios. Just lose connection here out there. I think he's got an incoming call, and then the thing dropped. We'll try and get hold of him once again, and then see what's gonna say. What is he got to tell us? My name is Mustafa Jame at the State Sky Power Radio and TV Services. Hello.
Afana boda Gambia le haina dinsia to America. Malu dabo haina dinsia to dunia no andi. Binin tada si adu boy. Jadi si se bunde gana. Amane. Ali Rahmatullahi.
You can use the same link. Let's go now. Olo bande sebu jambe sambatula manudab mamini kamapuni maru kinani alidab jumama samudi sao kuna ngwani yangu nyasi hatuna diadana meyage jalo ya bafodema ani jambe siato siatu kabisa sisi ni mbunya dunia jalo jadi kusampai padimon belabania padimon belabania. Right, once again, we got Mr. Ture back on air. People are saying, Yabana Suntumam Boriba.
Afoy ko ibitambuga bori.
Eko Suntu Borida, Suntu Dafadao.
Dawmade. Bejanne.
Yeah, we'll go very soon. You know, we've got about 5 minutes, and then before we wrap up, Mr. Ture, you know, we appreciate your time and effort because this is a national thing. So, you know, what we are saying, how to resolve this problem. You think how can we resolve all this misunderstanding and then the accessibility and all that? How can we resolve this?
I know, as I said, we are very visible right now. It's just that we cannot attend every single community event in the past. So I think this has caused some issues. But then we are working very hard to make sure, you know, we don't miss any upcoming community event. To make sure that our interaction and the sort of dedication and time we give to communities, you know, is increased. So, and that has seen that you've seen our ambassador went to Leeds in the last independence. Maybe you may have seen him there. If you were in Leeds at the time, you know, Ali, the deputy, went to Birmingham in Crab, and he mingled with everybody. So, as I said, also with this WhatsApp group we have, we are trying to, you know, bring in people from different faith communities, not just Muslims, but Gambian Christians and any other faith group that anybody belongs to. You know, we call this the interfaith because we believe that the past 22 years we went through a lot of difficulties, and we can still see those difficulties reflected now. There's a trust issues between us and politicians, between us as people, between us as different religious communities, because the past regime sort of caused this tension between us. So it's like these trust issues, you know, are things that we are working on resolving. It's not going to be easy. Maybe Suntu will do his part, Somebody else take over after me, carries on. But we have to be going. We have to keep going to make sure we build confidence. And that has been done with the leadership of His Excellency Francis Blaine. We have reached out to so many communities. We held a meeting in Copenhagen, myself and him last year. He went to Finland, he went to Israel, he went to Rome with the DHM, and then he went to Norway also with the former DHM. And then within here, we've attended the Kombosila, meetings, GRAB, Gambians, events in London and everywhere. So we're doing our best. We are traveling all the way to Scotland. It's not going to be easy, but this is where I want you also to pick up on these community champions that we want to create. If we have, say, let's say, young Sao in Leeds, for example, he is a Gambian community champion. There may be a Gambian in Leeds that will call us, explain a serious distress situation. He wants me to come there. And if I get it from the person, I said, I cannot come right now because I have this to do. But I have a community champion in Leeds that can come and see to you. These are the ideas we are working around with, because there are some other Israeli communities that do it. We have to understand the Jewish diaspora are the oldest diasporans that have been linking with their home country. And it is a duty upon most of them to even own properties in Israel. So we are trying to build that concept where Gambians can see Gambia beyond any particular individual or any particular organization. Once we reach that threshold, we are okay. But currently, we are not in that threshold. So it is my job, your job, and the job of everybody else to build confidence among us. You can support party A, party B, party C. That shouldn't have any problem between our relationships or you accessing your embassy or your department. Remember, it's the taxpayer. Your tax, my tax, somebody else's tax, that is what runs a government. So nobody, should try to say, I don't want to have anything to do with Department A, Department Y, High Commissioner A, B, or C because of this or that. No, if you have a better suggestion, you have a better idea, try to put it forward constructively, and let's try to engage. But we are open, Mustafa. We are really, really very open,
No, I can see it. Compared to before, I think the openness they start coming on, but the scrutinization is not going to stop. The criticization as well is not going to stop. You need to get yourself used to that, and then knowing that you are there for the people. Before we go, I need to ask you this, Mr. Ture. So once again, there is a welfare budget for Gambians to utilize in the Gambia High Commission.
Yes, there is a welfare budget, but this is for, as I said, Gambians under extreme distress, because the welfare budget is not very high. So we are working on seeing how government can make a decision to increase this threshold, but it's not very, very high. And as I said, we are having third generation Gambians. It means I have a child and he too also have a child here. That is this first generation, second, third generation. And government, the current government did one thing, which is to consider diaspora as the 8th region, because we have 7 regions in the Gambia. So they consider diaspora as an extension, meaning 8th region of the Gambia. So we have a project called the I think it's MSTG or something like that. That's also another project. And also we also have the Diaspora Directorate within the Foreign Ministry. Okay, those people will start work now to encourage diasporans to invest by working through us as embassies. It's not just the passport that you may need, but investment advice. What do you want to invest in? Because we have to understand we are moving to a future where technology will be dictating, where property management will be dictating, where cybersecurity and a lot of other things. Most of our sons and daughters in Europe are studying those things. They might not be able to have those jobs here, but they may want to go to Gambia to utilize their skills. So we need to have that close bond with the Gambia. And then we need to encourage Gambians also to buy properties in the Gambia, to buy mortgage or but whatever means. This is what Israel did. Israel's development is the diasporans, not just the political, But if you observe our Gambian diaspora, we are more political, but also sustaining our families. Economy one.
Yeah, I think it's incoming call. Sundu, maybe your phone is thingy. You got incoming call there. But before we go, before we finish now, we need your final thoughts and what do you think we could do to remedy this situation? Because we want to access the embassy. We want the people to know as well the embassy is there for them. People want to access it. Oh, before we go, one more thing. Have you got passports with you? Like if somebody needs passport, can he have the passport from the Gambia High Commission?
Currently, because the passport, Gambian passport is going through a digitalization process.
Yeah.
It means doing the buying for them to install that machine with us. So because of that, we have a dedicated immigration commissioner that we will normally send a passport information to get passports for people. So we cannot print and get the training to produce those passports. So that is on the pipeline. So this is why, because of the integrity of the Gambian document, it's very important. The old-fashioned Gambian document, the birth certificates, marriage certificate, all of that in future will have to change, because we are encountering problems all over. Because people, once they look at your Gambian marriage certificate, they look at a paper, plain paper with written on a handwritten, and they say, you know, is this a marriage certificate? So these are things that, I mean, government is looking at, but all of these things cost money. You know, and your media people don't make it that easy because your scrutiny is everywhere, and that is rightly so. You know, the government should be scrutinized, government should be criticized constructively, and better, you know, ways should be suggested to government. So there are many things, Gambian documentation that has to change. The birth certificate is still a lot. Our passport was very simple, and there are a lot of people, scammers who used to try to forge it. So now with the digitalization, it's not possible to forge it. So people have to go through that inconvenience for now until we have the machine installed. But there are a lot of things we are doing. We are authenticating marriage certificate, birth certificate. Even on Friday, I was in the office until 3:30 because we have 3 Gambians that passed away. One of them with coronavirus, but 2 natural causes. So we have to prepare what we call repatriation letters for the airlines to accept to remove their bodies from UK once the airspace is open. So we were there, you know, to deal with those bereaved families, to talk to them. So if anytime I'm needed to talk about professionally my job, I'm available to do that. Once it's about other things that is outside the remit, then that is what, you know, I cannot participate in.
Mr. Ture, your final thoughts. We would like to say thank you, and then give us your final thoughts, and then we go. Thanks. How can we remedy this situation? Your final thoughts.
Sky Power. Yeah, your Sky Power radio and television. I thank you very much. I follow your programs, and that of one of our sister who also do her own program. I do follow that as well, because I believe women voices are very important in the media. Yesterday, I think, and today, people are marking this Media Freedom Day, and I think that is something that we should all be proud of. I think the Gambia has made giant strides to have a free space for the media. There is no journalist behind bars right now, and I don't think there's any journalist in exile currently, except, well, whoever wants to stay away, then that's fine. But I mean instituted exile. And so we have, gone up the ranking of the media, the press freedom and all whatnot. So on our part here, our job here is to provide a very good representation of Gambians. We attend diplomatic meetings all the time, and people are very much happy with the new image of Gambia and Gambians. They follow social media, or the diplomats, because here you have security attaches. They go and check what is Sky Power saying. They are Americans, British, Norwegians. They read everything is written about the Gambia. You understand? And they are very happy with the heated exchanges. Sometimes they will tell us, oh, your people are in overdrive. They're talking about everything now because they can compare the past. In the Yajame time, how many people were saying stuff on Facebook? And now, so these people have chats. They can tell you in 2017 how many Gambians are active. In 2018, how in 2019, in 2020. They can tell you all of that. And they tell us. You understand? And we are very proud of that. Of course, not all what people say is pleasant, and not all what people say is true. But that is what you call media freedom or free, the freedom to express yourself. It might, some people might misuse it, but that is far better than not to actually have the freedom to express yourself. So as Gambians, my last word will be people to respect their country, to love their country, to see themselves as future leaders of the Gambia. Okay, to see themselves as future leaders of the Gambia, that you want to inherit a country where, love, caring, and community harmony prevails. So that's our job here, Mustafa, to breed community harmony, to be there for the people in good times and in bad times. So I thank you. Unfortunately, I didn't greet the Gunjur masses, my in-laws all over Gunjur. I have deep respect for Gunjur. I go to Gunjur even this last March. I was there, spent nearly half a day. I never go to Gambia without going to Gunjur. It's in the deep of my heart. And I respect every Gunjurian. Although some, they will attack me now on Facebook, but maybe they don't know I'm their in-law. So Mustafa, that's your job to let them know.
I think, the next program, I think you're going to promise the next time we will link with the Gunjur radio and then to pass the message on, and then we'll invite phone calls. Are you ready for that?
I'm ready for that. That's not a problem. In fact, we can have cultural programs. I don't mind. Anything which is not politics, I'm open for. We can have cultural programs because you love culture. I can see that you love culture, and culture has been my passion. History and culture is my passion still now. So the only area that I am not entering right now is politics. But anything apart from politics, we are free to discuss. Yeah.
Anyway, that's fine. Mr. Toure, thank you very much for your time, energy, and effort. We appreciate your time to come here, and then talk to us. At least you've turned up and then come say what you want to say, to the people, to the Gambian people. We really appreciate that. Thank you very much, and then have a pleasant night. Almang Nasum Karoisia. Thanks.
Abaraka. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, cheers. Thanks. All right. That was the Honorable Councillor, Mr. Suntu Toure, on Sky Power Radio and Television Services. This is where we draw the curtain to this for this edition. So all information will be pasted on here. Yeah, till we come your way, same place, same time. Thanks for watching, and thank you for all the time, energy, comments, and contributions. Thank you also very much. Appreciate it. Have a pleasant night. Ali Ramatullahi Kodajirani Lani Ramatullahi Asuma Siyadulu Godi Ramatullahi Allah Karam Malu Bene Sami Malu Bene Bolo bande segu jame samadula manudad mamini maru kinani alidam timama salamdi sawo kunan kwani yangunya siyatul diadan me yage jalo ya babode ma ani jame siyatul
Allah ka bo men ba bulu gina.